Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
Well, we have a lot to discuss inside the Lock Shop today. Wildcard weekend truly was that. Wild and crazy games all over the place. We're going to a couple bets for tonight. We'll get to some NHL stuff for tonight, Monday night in the National Hockey League, and some player props for the one game that's left, Dallas Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Bucs. As always, Lock Shop brought to you by our wonderful partners at Coolbet. If you've not yet signed up for an account, what are you waiting for? Use the code LOCKSHOP when you sign up. 100% deposit bonus on your initial deposit up to $200, and we'll deliver you some winners. Huss, what's up, buddy?
Well, what's up? Just kind of pulling it all together after a pretty awesome weekend. Jets, by the way, first place in the Western Conference. Just
I saw that this morning.
But holy smokes, we had a very interesting football weekend, and I am continuing my legacy of very mediocre wildcard weekend picks. You, however, hell of a week. I mean, if it weren't for the Bills, and we'll get to the Bills blowing the partner parlay. They were up 17-0, and then had to battle back in the second half. Bizarre game, but that was all completely self-inflicted. But honestly, Dusty, if we're going to talk about the wild card weekend, can we please just get right to the Chargers?
There's no other place to start, buddy.
On Saturday, 27-0. Trevor Lawrence, 4 picks. And then when you thought it couldn't get any worse, that punt goes off that dude's head, and they get the ball on the 3-yard line and put that in for a touchdown. It could not have gone any worse for the Jags in the first half. And I swear they got that late touchdown. I'm like, this game is not over yet. And, well, the Chargers chargered in the most spectacular way out of the playoffs. Listen, I know what the Florida Panthers did to Gerard Gallant was classless when they booted him out and threw him in a cab. I would have totally understood if the Chargers did that to Brandon Staley after that game.
It was, I'm surprised he hasn't been fired already, buddy. I said this morning on the air, I felt like I missed it. I said, did I miss the Staley firing somewhere? Like the Chargers,
West Coast, it's still early there.
Yeah. The Chargers basically needed to make one play, put together one drive. First half, or defensively make a play, offensively string together a 5-6 minute drive. You're going to win that football game. They needed to do one thing well in the second half, and they could not do it. This guy was already by all accounts, already on a hot seat heading into here. They've got to look somewhere else. I mean, you cannot let a 27-0 playoff lead slip away. This game was gifted to you. It was gift wrapped to you, and you let it go. Unbelievable.
It was. I got to give credit to Trevor Lawrence, though. He was on pace to throw 10 picks in that game. I mean, the first half was an absolute nightmare. But for him to get off the mat and come back, I believe the last 5 drives the Jacksonville Jaguars had was passing touchdown, passing touchdown, passing touchdown, passing touchdown, game-winning field goal. And Chargers couldn't get the stop. They couldn't get they won the turnover battle 5-0 and had a 27-0 lead and are out of the playoffs today. Listen, there's some teams that are just capable of the spectacular, and unfortunately for Chargers fans, that was the bad side of that team. I will say this: the Niners looked amazing. Much of that weather that I was and a lot of people were expecting didn't really materialize.
I was cursing you, Huss. I was like, where's this weather?
Which was so bizarre. I don't know if you saw Alan Shipnuck did a video in the afternoon at Pebble Beach, which is about an hour away from there. And he was standing there in what looked like a hurricane. We're like, what the hell's going on in Santa Clara then? It doesn't look that bad. Listen, the Seahawks held in for a little bit, but we saw the class of the Niners in the second half of that game. Still feeling good about that Niners NFC future. I really do think that they are the team to beat. And Brock Purdy, I mean, what a story he's writing right now. As far as yesterday goes, then may as well get to this Bills game. The Bills blew the partner parlay and almost blew their season with just mistake after mistake after mistake. And listen, I'm a Mike McDaniel fan. I thought they hung in there as best as they could. But I mean, even you look at Skylar Thompson's numbers, he didn't do much at all. And yet they were right there in that game at the end. And listen, the Bills survived, but I don't think either the Bills or Bengals look particularly ready for prime time heading into the game we've all been waiting for an extra few weeks. They'll go at it tomorrow in the divisional playoffs.
Well, that's what I was going to say. When we bring Pat in here, and he's here, I'll bring him in here shortly. I mean, how confident can you be? Actually, yeah, let's bring in Pat right now. He can help us break down this Bills game. We'll get to a few other things as well and continue with the conversations. I see everybody on the YouTube chat. Thank you for chatting over there. If you're on the Twitter live stream, make sure you chime in as well with your thoughts on the weekend. But, hey, no better guy to go to than the current vibe around Bills Mafia than Pat Gregoire, card-carrying member. Patty, how are you, buddy?
Doing good, boys. What an unreal weekend of football. And, of course, we got to talk about the Bills game. But aside from that, man, what a weekend to just sit your ass down on a couch and watch a lot of football.
It was fun, wasn't it?
It was fun.
I watched almost every minute of every game yesterday, and I was loving every minute of it. It was good. I enjoyed it. I mean, there's a lot of stories coming out of the week. The Bills, and even as Huss said, like the Bengals, they didn't look too great against Lamar Jackson-less Baltimore Ravens team. And so, what is the biggest story, Patty? I mean, it's the Chargers, clearly, but I mean, what else? Yeah,
I think it's got to be Chargers, no doubt. You guys went into it pretty deep, so I won't. But the Chargers, that's really what it was. Kudos for the Jaguars for coming back, though. I think if they make those mistakes, if Lawrence plays like he played in the first half, even like half as bad as he did in that first half against the Chargers, they can kiss their chances of not just, beating Kansas City, which they won't do, but keeping it close. So they're going to have to play more of that football in the second half. The line opened up at -8.5. So, I mean, a pretty big line for a divisional football game, but man, what a mess that was. And I know you're going to want to talk about the Bills game, so let's get it over with. Let's talk about it. I mean, they won, but
how do you feel about it going? I mean, it's sort of bizarre because I think both of those teams had so much steam going into that Monday nighter. And now, I mean, the Bengals were fortunate. I mean, let's call it what it was. I mean, Tyler Huntley was on the goal line and got stripped on what was potentially a touchdown. It goes back the other way, and that's the difference in this game. But Pat, from the Bills' perspective, they were up comfortably. Everyone thought that game was over. And then they just continued to shoot themselves in the foot. I mean, this was entirely self-inflicted.
It totally was. It totally was. The Bills are talented and good enough to beat any team in this league. They're not talented enough to beat any team in this league while also beating themselves. It's just plain and simple. Let's start with the play calling in the second half. Certainly mind-numbing. Like Ken Dorsey thought he was playing Madden with 4 verts. Like it seemed like every single play. It was insane. That one drive where they went 2 deep passes to Gabe Davis, and then Josh Allen got sacked, and they only chewed up about 59 seconds on the clock. This team has been doing that all season long. They do not know how to play with the lead. It is insane. But you mentioned the other mistakes. That dropped. Even any of these 3 drops that I'm going to talk about, if one of them are converted, it's a different game. I think the game completely changes. Dawson Knox dropping that close touchdown in the end zone for his second TD. If that ends up standing, I think it's a different game. The deep shot to who was that one again? They had a deep shot of 50-plus yard. Yeah. And that one ended up getting reviewed, ended up not being a catch. And then the other one was Cole Beasley, the interception right off his chest and goes back the other way for a big return. So for me, any one of those are at least turned the other way. I think we're talking about a different game. But again, week after week, it is mistake after mistake, bad play calling in the second half that has not allowed this team to run away with games. They've looked so good in the first half, and then the second half, it's just a different football team. It is mind-numbing as a Bills fan to watch. and the long pass was to Khalil Shakir, who, by the way, had an unbelievable game. And not to pat myself on the back, but when I saw that McKenzie was going to be out of the lineup, I hammered that over. I think it was 18 and a half. He flew over that within like 2 plays. So that was a big one. But nonetheless, this Bills team, certainly some red flags for a long time, but none of them really have gone away.
Well, let me ask you guys both this right now, because we do have lines for for next week's games. And the Bills Bengals is 4.5 for Buffalo. I thought this would maybe be 3.5. I'm surprised we're getting the extra point. What about you, Pat?
I thought for sure it was going to be 3.5, maybe even down to 2.5. I know you get the Bills Mafia bump playing at home, but for me, there's no way that this game doesn't come down to a field goal on either side. So, fandom aside, I would certainly be thinking about betting the Bengals at 4.5, to be quite frank. I imagine this will come down. So if you do really like the Bengals, I don't think you're getting a better price than 4.5. So that's certainly maybe me being a pessimist right now with what I've seen from the Bills yesterday. I would certainly be thinking of that. And even plus 167 on the money line, definitely worth sprinkling on if you don't think this Bills team is legit.
The other 2 lines that have opened already, Jags, 8.5-point dogs going to KC. Giants, 7.5 right now in Philly against the Eagles. We saw the Giants take care of business. Danny Dimes looked like he was in the right place, man. Over 300 yards passing, no interceptions, 2 passing touchdowns, almost 80 yards on the ground. Huss, what do you think of those 2 early lines?
The Chiefs-Jags number was pretty much what I expected. I figured it would be less than 10, more than a touchdown. We're right in that area. And, I think based on what we saw in the regular season from Philadelphia, they certainly deserve to be that, a significant favorite. One thing I'll say about the Giants, they're going to play against a team with a legit NFL defense. The Vikings looked like a JUCO squad last night on the defensive side of the football. I mean, and listen, they mixed in 1 stop in the second half, and then what happens? It's a tie game. But in the end, they just did not have an answer on the defensive side of the football. It's a real disappointing way to end the game, to end the season, because the Vikes had won all of those close games all year long. But when it came down to it, Pat, if you can't get a stop, you're not going to win a football game. And the Giants, I got a lot of respect for Brian Daboll, what he's done, what he's made out of Danny Dimes, because listen, he doesn't have a murderer's row of receivers out there by any stretch. And they look pretty damn good. I think a big part of it was just the porous secondary of the Minnesota Vikings. But that being said, they're moving up a couple weight classes going into the Link in Philly on the weekend.
Well, quickly, before we get into that, obviously the lock shoppers are doing their magic, because we just see some movement now. Money line down to 160, and the line is now down to 4. So whoever just
you sick bastards.
I mean, that's no coincidence. The lock shoppers, when they see something like they like, when we're talking about it on the show, they make it happen. So they're shaking and moving lines. But preseason, I was pretty high on the Vikings. Like I did cash a bet for them to win the division, but they were the most fraudulent team. And can we honestly be surprised that this is the way it ended? Absolutely not. But with that being said, on the flip side, this Giants team, man, I keep complaining about Dorsey. Man, would I not still love to have Daboll calling that offense with Josh? Look what he's able to do.
Yeah,
with mobile quarterbacks. Turn Danny Dimes into Vanilla Vic. The guy looks electric now. It's
I like Vanilla Vic. That's a good line.
and I, to be honest, I think the Eagles win. I think they get it done. Huss brings up a great point, that they haven't played a really strong defensive team. And to be honest, outside of their front 5, I don't think their defense is as good as they kind of show on paper. I think this is going to be a close game. I think the Eagles probably get it done. I think the link is going to be rocking. So I would probably think that, Eagles win, but 7.5.
I think if somebody put a gun to my head right now, I'd take the Giants plus 7.5, but we'll see where it moves and, dive into this game a little bit more. Right. So yeah,
exactly.
Pat, anything for tonight? I mean, the line's still sitting at 2.5 here between the Cowboys and the Bucs, so that really hasn't moved much. Huss and I got some player props we're going to drop a little bit later on in the episode, but are you on anything tonight?
Well, I hate both these teams. I hate I hate Brady. He's tortured me all these years, and you couldn't pay me to bet on the Cowboys and how they've been playing and how Prescott has been playing right now. So probably, a smattering of different props. It's prime time. We didn't catch the prime time field goal bet last night. So that means
shocking.
I know, it's insane. And it wasn't even close, to be honest. So that one just screamed field goals for me. I think that's one where I look at. I kind of like Mike Evans' number. I think it's at 62.5.
Okay.
I think the chemistry between Brady and him certainly has started to flourish again. And this secondary is pretty banged up for the Cowboys right now. So I think that's somewhere where they might look to exploit them. So those are probably my two favorite props right now. But of course, when you're talking about the Cowboys, you've always got to have your eyes on, either Zeke or Pollard to find the back of the end zone. I know it's kind of a catch-22. If you take one, you might lose another one, but usually those guys are finding the back of the end zone. Evans, if you like him, plus 175 there as well. So I probably will do a deeper dive on the props a little bit later, but man, these two teams, like if Bane showed up to the stadium, I would not be upset about that at all.
Oh, what a great scene that was. That was a good scene in that movie. That was good. All right, Patty. Well, thanks for popping by, buddy, and we'll catch up with you later in the week.
Awesome, fellas. Take care. Enjoy the game tonight.
Yeah, hey, Pat, tell the Leafs Nation the number one team in the West is coming to town on Thursday night. May have to get a good exclusive in for that one.
Oh, we certainly will. And anytime the Jets are in town, man, it's always an awesome atmosphere. The Jets fans definitely make the trip, or the Winnipeggers that are living in Toronto. So that'll be a fun game to go to for sure.
There we go. That's Pat Gregoire from Coolbet. It's funny, he mentioned Zeke and Tony Pollard, and we both got a piece tonight, Huss. We both got a piece. I like this. This is how if I was playing them both, this is what I would be doing. I'm on Zeke to get the touchdown tonight at plus 110. We know when they're around the end zone, it's Zeke time for the Dallas Cowboys. But I also love Tony Pollard over 22.5. I think the key tonight in this game, and I haven't changed my mind. I still like the Cowboys minus 2.5. I had Mike Tenier from Football Outsiders on my radio show this morning, and he said, so the Bucs were 8-9. 4 of the Bucs wins this year came in like the final minute against non-playoff teams. So I'm not even sure they're 8-9 good. So I'm sticking with the Cowboys here at minus 2.5 for a nice week. And I think Zeke's going to be around it. So I'm on Zeke at plus 110. And then CeeDee Lamb just had an absolutely terrific season. He's been targeted a ton here with Dak back at the helm. If you just look at the last 3 games, a game against Washington, I don't want to read too much into that. The 2 games prior to that, 14 targets, 11 catches, 100 yards. 11 targets, 10 catches, 120 yards. And then actually the game before that, 7 targets, caught them all for 126 yards. I think you can make the case that CeeDee Lamb might be playing the best and most productive football of his entire career right now. So I don't see why Dak's not going to go to his main target. So I'm on CeeDee Lamb over 5.5 catches and Zeke for a touchdown at plus 110 tonight.
Yeah, this is, as I said, I'm really looking forward to this game, staying with the Cowboys, although I am quite nervous. But I said, what the hell? If I'm betting against Brady, let me double down against Tom Brady, and get an interception prop in on this game. Listen, Brady's been clean the last 2 games against Atlanta, against Carolina, but had been throwing plenty of picks before then, including 2 in each of his last 3 games. And I do think that there could be a point in this game where they're playing from behind and, a little bit more desperate. So I think that interception prop is certainly live. And it'll be that much more fun if we can actually cash it, because it'll come on the end of a Tom Brady interception. So I'm in on that. And yeah, Tony Pollard. And, I was looking at the rushing numbers, but I just find, especially with the pass rush of the Buccaneers, I think that outlet to Pollard is going to be something that Dak Prescott takes advantage of a little bit more. Listen, he was victimized last week and having eyes for one guy, being set on his throw and making some big mistakes, including a pick six. They have to eliminate those mistakes, and far better being safe and checking down to Tony Pollard a couple extra times than making that bad throw. So I'm going to go with the Tony Pollard over 22.5. By the way, actually, that's receiving yards, and it's actually down to 21.5 right now. Although at just a little bit bigger of a number. It was the 22.5 was minus 110. I think it's 21 right now at minus 118. But I'm liking Tony Pollard, and I wouldn't even be surprised if he also gets into the end zone. I think when the Cowboys get closer to the end zone, we've obviously got Zeke on the goal line, but I think Tony Pollard is absolutely an option sort of in that 5 to 15 yard range in a number of different ways. So I'm going to roll with the guys on the ground, but also from a passing standpoint over on the receiving yards. And oh God, the smile on my face if we cash this Brady pick prop, especially early on in the game, will be something maybe suitable for social media. It's a big shit-eating grin.
All right, a couple plays in the National Hockey League. There's games on already in the National Hockey League, continuing all day. So we kind of picked some later games here. I think you got one afternoon game. That Tampa Bay game's mid-afternoonish, isn't it?
Oh, you know what? I did not know. I just sort of went down the list.
It's like 2 o'clock, though. Lots of time to get on it here, I think.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Tampa and the Kraken. So that's a 3 o'clock our time, 2 o'clock there.
2 o'clock, 4 o'clock Eastern, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess a holiday down in the States. But yeah, I'm going to take Tampa. Listen, I know that Seattle has been an absolute wrecking crew lately. They win 8 in a row on this trip, and
7, I think, wasn't it?
Or 7 in a row? Yeah, I mean it's been nuts. Okay, 7 in a row on the road trip, and they won 8 in a row.
Okay, there we go.
That being said, they're back at home. They're playing a very good Tampa team that is, I think, in some ways sort of hitting their stride. We saw them here in Winnipeg about a week and a half ago. The Jets handled them in a game that was really determined by special teams. But since then, they've rattled off 3 in a row. This is going to be a huge test for the Seattle Kraken, and with all due respect to them, I'm going to ride with the Lightning on what I think is a pretty good number at minus 131. And then the Calgary Flames, a little bit later on, taking on the Nashville Predators. Listen, the Preds have been very mediocre this year. They've been bailed out by their goaltender, UC Saros, quite a bit. Flames are getting hot, though, offensively. They put in a half dozen on the weekend against the Dallas Stars, had to sweat out the end after being up 6-1, but they got it done. Really like the way Calgary's playing these days. So I'm going to lay on Calgary at minus 140. And you put those two together, you get better than plus 200 at plus 202 on a parlay.
And tonight in the National Hockey League, we'll get to a couple more NFL things to wrap the episode. Tonight, I've got a parlay, plus 246. Play them individually, obviously. St. Louis, money line tonight at home against Ottawa. And then this Pittsburgh, minus 1.5 against the Ducks. Here's the Ducks' last 3 games, Huss. They gave up 6, 6, and 7 in their last 3 games. They've been outscored 19-5 in their last 3 hockey games. The Ducks are brutal. I like Pittsburgh minus 1.5 tonight. It's my favorite play of the day in the National Hockey League. I was looking for another later game to kind of toss in there. I'll go St. Louis at home. I think Ottawa actually on the road's minus 118, so a slight favorite in this game. But I'll be on St. Louis money line at home tonight at plus 246. That? I don't know.
Am I missing something? Like, how is St. Louis an underdog to Ottawa?
That's a great question.
Something smells fishy about that line. Either that or jump on it right away because it's bad. I mean, Ottawa.
St. Louis has lost 2 in a row. Ottawa just got pumped 7-0. They've lost 3 of 4. Shut out twice in that stretch. Only beat Arizona. I don't know.
There's not a lot that gave me. Anyways, that's a nice number on St. Louis, considering they're minus 104. They desperately need the win, too. I mean, They're on the outside of the playoff line looking up at a number of teams right now and need to get on a bit of a roll. And as far as Pittsburgh goes, listen, they had a tough weekend. The Jets absolutely dominated them on Friday night in Pittsburgh, a place that's usually an absolute graveyard for Winnipeg. One of the most impressive games of the year, but the Jets were doing it on the second end of a back-to-back. I mean, it was surprising. And then they went and played a little bit better, but still lost to the Hurricanes the next day. So this is as much of a get-right game as you could possibly have, needing a win, welcoming the Anaheim Ducks. I'm going to jump on that one with you as well.
Okay, a couple of things here to discuss. First of all, Mike Cochran, Winnipeg. You know, Mike, he must be a Winnipeg Sports Talk guy. He said the bet builder of our 4 props plus 600 for the game tonight. But then I also got a text from Patty that says, hey, what about a little Lock Shop Monday Night Football exclusive? Zeke anytime TD, Pollard over 21.5 receiving yards, Tom Brady INT. Should we get that? You're good with that? Let's do it. I'm going to tell him right now.
Lock it in, Patty.
Let's lock it in. And we'll tweet that out after. But that's going to be available and exclusive over in the exclusive section. Zeke anytime TD, Tony Pollard over 21.5 receiving yards, and a Tom Brady INT, so we can all rejoice together. So all you lock shoppers, wait for that. I'm sure it'll be up within the hour. And, we can get that out there today as well. I before we wrap, I did want to get your thoughts. I had somebody texted my show today, and I saw there was a crazy bet over the weekend. The guy who bet like 1.4 mil or whatever, 1.14 mil to win 11 grand. I had a guy text into my show today and say, hey, Dusty, I bet $30 on the Chargers money line when they were up 27-0 to win 4. I was like, why would you bet $30 to win 4 at any point? So I don't know. You seem like it's a sure thing, but come on.
Never, ever, ever do that, people. That is what they call a bridge jumper. Because when you lose, you're looking for the closest bridge and going, what the hell was I doing? All to win $4.
Yeah, don't do that.
I'll be honest. I saw that guy that was apparently betting $1.4 million to win 11 grand.
What?
That I thought that it was BS, to be honest. Apparently, DraftKings took the bet and confirmed.
It was DraftKings who took it? Really?
Yeah, the DraftKings Sportsbook.
I thought it was like money laundering down in Vegas. That's what it felt like to me. Like,
first off, I honestly wonder who is in a position that any book will accept a $1.4 million bet.
Yeah.
Maybe a guy that's lost millions of dollars before. I'm not sure. It's just fascinating. This is the same concept when you're putting your parlay together of adding the minus 900 favorite to get it up an extra couple bucks. It's not, the juice ain't worth the squeeze, everybody. Make your picks, but do not take massive favorites or got teams that are way up. Like, it's sometimes worthwhile throwing a little sprinkle on a team that's down right now because the benefits, if they actually come back and win, you get a massive win. But betting 4-digit favorites does not make any sense. And there were some nightmare stories of that coming out of the weekend. So lesson learned. Hopefully it wasn't your money.
All right, we'll have a Tuesday episode of The Lock Shop tomorrow, getting you ready for a busy, there's a lot of games in the NHL today. What's the card look like tomorrow in the National Hockey League? Let's see. Where's NHL schedule tomorrow?
Let's see. Tuesday.
Oh, it's still relatively busy. There's like 6, 7, 8 games. So we'll do that tomorrow. We got golf picks. I was on the wrong Kim this week. That was tough.
Yeah.
Siwoo Kim. Not bad. So we'll do that. And then obviously another huge football episode is Hustlers Chiefs have to go up against a guy who's never lost on a Saturday. So that'll be interesting.
Jeez, I forgot about that little stat. Mr. Saturday, Trevor Lawrence. Well, I'll tell you what, Chiefs are going to need to be ready, and they're going to need to play a full 60 minutes, unlike what happened last year in the AFC Championship game. That's going to get things going. And then Sunday, we'll have the Niners take on the winner of tonight's game. And, of course, the game that I think everyone can't wait for, Buffalo, Cincinnati. 4.5, now 4. You can still get 4.5 at minus 118, but I would pay attention to that. That is not going above 4.5. We can guarantee you that. So get on it early if you do like the Bengals, because I think it's going to get closer to 3 by the time we kick off on the weekend.
Shout out to everybody in our YouTube chat today. By far the best YouTube chat that we've had so far. So thank you for that, guys. Tell your friends about the Lock Shop. Have them subscribe today. And we'll talk some hockey tomorrow. Break down, obviously, a recap of this football game tonight as well. Hustle, talk to you then, man.
Take care, dude.